Hello, family. It's the time you've been waiting for. Senior Talk with Claire Hubbard, your resource and information show for people getting better with age. Well, we have another exciting edition of our show. Please tell your friends. Watch us on Facebook Live. Watch us on YouTube. Watch us on Twitter. We are live, and this show today is going to be very, very, very informational. More importantly, some beautiful people are returning back to our program, our community partners, none other than Peer Plus Wellness, Miss Phyllis Riders. Woo! And another smiling face that you always will soon be learning more about. And her name is Miss Ramona Burris. We love her, we love her, we love her. But everyone stay tuned. Senior Talkers Live. Tell your friends, let's get ready. We'll be right back after our short intro. Everyone stay tuned.
Still sound dope? Nope.
All right, family, that's right. You're tuning into Senior Talk with Claire Hubbard. This is a very special, exclusive show because today we're talking about what you should know about clinical trials. Yes, we have seen every commercial in the world talking about clinical trials, talking about these are the side effects, all those things. But let me tell you, we have community experts joining us today. So without further ado, people send me their bios, but you can introduce yourself a little bit better than I can. So we're going to get to Miss Phyllis, but Miss Ramona Burris, welcome, welcome, welcome back to Senior Talk. How are you this beautiful day?
I am doing well, Mrs. Hubbard. How are you?
I am well, and we are just excited that this information is critical. This is, as we know, Black History Month. This is also African American Heritage Month, and we're going to take some of the myths. We're going to answer some questions, and we're going to really dive into this. So, do us a quick intro and tell us about who you are, because you've been in the community and you're moving around, and this is the first time in a long time that we can say we're sitting still. Even through the pandemic, we are working, working, working. And normally you have no roller skates. I can't see through this visual, but just glad that you're with us today. So introduce yourself to our viewing audience today.
Yeah, so thank you for having me as part of the discussion today. And, I'm super excited because I've been partnering with Senior Talk Radio and Peer Plus educators in the Chicago space and that advocacy space for years. And I'm excited to bring my 9 to 5 role to this space so we can have conversations around clinical research and why it's important for our communities to be a part of that ongoing efforts. But to everyone in the audience, I'm Ramona Burris. I am a Chicago native, born and raised. I am a mother of 3 beautiful young adults. I am a metastatic breast cancer patient who is also a clinical trial participant. I am a pharmacist by training, and currently I'm employed by Janssen Pharmaceutical Companies of Johnson & Johnson as an associate director overseeing our diversity and our clinical research across our entire portfolio. So that means areas such as cancer and cardiovascular health and diabetes and, psoriasis, so many different conditions that we know negatively impact our communities. So again, thank you, Clara, for opening up the floor for me to, have this dialogue with you. And I hope that the momentum that we've gained from our personal and community connections extend in this space as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, once again, the Honorable Phyllis Rogers, just introduce yourself to our viewership this once again.
Thank you, Clara. We're together once again. We've been down for a while, but we're back. Phyllis Rogers, founder and CEO of Pure Plus Education and Training Advocates. We celebrated our 20 years last November. So we want to thank you all for all the support over the years, and we're hoping to do 20 more. I'm excited about this particular project. with being Black History Month and the collaboration that we have with Janssen, with Ramona, and with Governor State, and with the FDA and the Blue Hat Foundation. This program, we have people that will share their stories
Mhm.
and talk about why we need to join research because we are in an important piece to make this happen. And in order for us to be able to receive the results that we're looking at as a community, we have to be a part of the research when the data is collected to say that we have done our part
Mhm.
and that we understand why we're doing our part. And I think that's why a lot of people don't join, because of myths and some truths, but a lot of times because of myths and just a lack of understanding. So this program promises to give you a straight talk
Mhm.
about the reasons and why it's needed. I mean, it's going to be fabulous. We have Rhea Blakey, who is the external director with FDA Oncology Division, and she has a powerful voice to be able to pull that information not only from our presenters but from the attendees also that may be a little shy about asking questions, and she has that way of being able to manipulate that. And we have none other than Tanya Roberson, who's going to be
The
representing.
Dr. Roberson.
There you go. There you go. Let me straighten that up. That's right. Dr. Tanya Roberson, Director of Community Engagement Program Development and Academic Support from Governor State. So we want to thank her and for everyone else that is going to be a part of this event next Thursday, the 24th, from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. We want to give it an early start.
Yeah.
And we don't want to hold people all day, so we're going to start on time. And our goal is to end on time, but we want a good conversation. And I don't think people will be prepared to hear. I want them to be prepared to hear Ramona's story
Yeah.
and then to be able to hear the story of Candace. I mean, these two ladies are powerful in their own rights, but when you pull them away from what their daily needs and what they do, these ladies are survivors, and they're going
Yeah.
to talk about that openly and honestly.
Absolutely. So what, ladies, I just want us to take a pause because we are having this important conversation through a pandemic. Be very clear.
Mhm.
And so what I want people to really understand, and we are going to show some video, and we talked about this in our green room meetings prior to, we still have to address our disparities.
Yes.
And we have failed to do so. And one of the things that we have to understand, everything that is administered, and this is, let me be clear, I'm not a doctor or a scientist, but I am very clear that every kind of medicine goes through a trial.
Mhm.
In order for us even to receive the vaccinations, there was a trial.
Mhm.
And so what I want us really to dig in, and our topic is really why we should participate, but I think the underlining should be the diversity, why we need more diversity in the trials. If we're underrepresented, how can we get the services? If we don't show up, the funds and other things will be taken away. So what we're going to do, we're going to play one of our videos from Janssen. You did a great job. I got some good information. I tell you, I'm very excited, very, very excited. I'm so crazy. But I want everyone to hear. And what you're also able to do, because you're watching this through other mediums, shoot us some questions in our box and we'll be glad to address those. But thank you for everyone tuning in. We have this first informational from Janssen. Everyone stay tuned.
Why do we need diversity in clinical trials? Many clinical trials today are made up of as much as 80% white participants and do not include enough people of different genders, ages, races, and ethnicities. Black people and other people of color are often not represented. We believe one reason for this is that the healthcare system as a whole needs to get better at removing barriers clinical trials participants often face. This can include helping people understand how clinical trials work, building trust in the process, and addressing logistical burdens. Thank you for watching. Learn more at www.researchincludesme.com.
All right, Ramona, break it down.
Mm. All right, so Clara, I'm gonna give you an honorary scientist degree because you broke it down probably better than I ever could. But if I say that COVID and this pandemic has been a catalyst for us having conversations around health equity issues that were not new, but definitely COVID, shined a spotlight on it. The same is true for clinical trials because we found ourselves talking about research around a dinner table, whereas before we never really had that type of dialogue within our families, within our tribes, within our communities. And so, why is it important that we have diverse representation? If we just look like at the incidence and prevalence of different diseases across our community, whether we're talking about heart disease, diabetes, breast cancer, and other health conditions, we see that African Americans are just disproportionately impacted when it comes to those worser outcomes, whether it's death, survival rate, and what have you. And so as we look at the opportunities to participate in research, because there are so many different kinds of research. Yes, there's drug trials, but there's other opportunities for folks to participate. But it helps us to learn more as scientists about why diseases manifest differently amongst different groups, because that's just something that we know, right? I know as we drive in our community, we see all these random dialysis centers just like popped up on every corner. We need to understand why that is more of a heightened issue in our Black, African American, and Latinx communities, right? And that's what participating in research kind of gives scientists more understanding to that, as well as learning about how medications work in people before they get to market.
Yeah, yes. And so one of the key things that I really want us to engage is that from years ago, we have had much more success in clinical trials. There is a procedure, there are regimens. We talk about what happened years ago and people are just devastated. Oh, I don't want to participate. But now the clinical trials are more in depth and there's instructional. You're not, as people say, oh, I became a test dummy or whatever. That's not the issue. That's not it. There's more trained, more knowledge-based. And then let's talk about this. What kind of answers can we expect, from clinical trials? Because we're hearing it all around the country, but what kind of answers can we expect when people participate in clinical trials?
Yeah, so we're definitely reaching out to communities, not only to engage and be part of the studies, but for us to tell them at the end of the study what they would offer, what value they gave us, and understanding again how these medications work and how effective they are in our specific communities, but then also what are the implications for that disease state that the medication is being used in. And you're right, Clara, like research has a complicated history in our community. That's a valid fact. But now we're very much so focused on that patient-centered research where we talk about rights are protected, the informed consent and IRBs. We have more policies and procedures to prevent a Tuskegee from recurring, to prevent a recurrence of those Puerto Rican birth control pill trials. Because yes, they're in the history, but they're not that far out, right? But I'm very confident in stating that, our research framework is now very much so protective of those patients, no matter who you look like, no matter how much money you make, no matter whether it's a cancer study or, some laser study that you're doing. It's making sure that patients are first and their rights are protected.
Absolutely. So let me ask you this. What kind of recruitment methods did you use? Because, we can be very resistant. So what are the recruitment methods that you use? Because you're having success and that's why we're doing this. And everyone, I have to tell you again, you're watching this on Senior Talk Media, but the information is scrolling and those will hear it on social media as well on any other platform. The event is on Thursday, February 24th. Registration is required and you're asked to visit peerpluscares.org. But tell us, what are the procedures you've been using for recruitment?
So before we can even think about recruitment, it's all about being present in the community and having these type of honest conversations, having this dialogue where we're truly answering questions that folks may have. They may have had a family member who was presented with the opportunity to be part of research and declined. So really just getting to understand what the needs of the community are and understanding how they want to learn about clinical research. Because it would be remiss for me to say, hey, I have a study and I want you to join without being present, being authentic in my approach and connecting with the community. And that's the partnership. That's the value of a partnership that like having with Peer Plus. and Senior Talk Radio, Senior Talk Media, because you guys have been in the community and you are the trusted voices. You are the trusted messengers. And it's important that I collaborate with you, again, to talk about spreading education and awareness, because we want to empower communities with the correct information instead of all that misinformation that be floating around out there, right? Correct information so that they can make their own informed decisions about their health care, about whether they're going to participate in the study. So to me, that's part one before I even go to saying, hey, I want to recruit you to be part of this trial that I have.
So being in this industry, and we're looking for participants, is there a more percentage of men needed or women, or how is that ratio, or just in general, African Americans of all ages? Give me a little stats on that a little bit.
We need representation across the board. If we look at the majority of our research that's been conducted in the past, 5 to 10 years, it's very homogenous. It's very much so white participants. And you'll oftentimes see more men because in general, we found that sometimes women have time commitment and family commitments that hinder, no matter what, race or ethnicity they are, but those obligations that hinder clinical trial participation. And so what we're trying to do holistically is just change the way we do research. Like if you want to be part of a study, I don't want you to have to come in every 2 weeks to see your doctor or to come in for labs. How can we reduce some of that? How can I not have you travel, 20 miles to get to downtown? And how can I set up a research opportunity at your local community hospital, right? So you don't have to travel. So those are some of the things that we're taking from a pharmaceutical perspective to really change how we're operating clinical trials holistically, because we know that it's a burden for a lot of folks to participate in research. And the research that we conduct is not just research of last resort, right? You don't have to be that terminally ill patient that's enrolled in research. There's precision-based medicine. Again, when I look at things for diabetes and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and I want people to be a part of that, because if we look at the epidemiology or the stats behind those diseases, it's us. We're the ones that are impacted. And so that's the value of being in research, but that's also the value of us bringing the research opportunities to the community so that they're more accessible.
Okay. This is going to be our last question, and we're going to bring on Miss Phyllis, but both of you can answer, both of you can answer from your side. Here we go. Hold on, strap on tight. Okay. What makes a good candidate for clinical trials? Because, there's sometimes there's, that's the question. What makes a good candidate for clinical trial?
There's so much type of research. There's phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. And in some of those phases, we look for just healthy people, right? Those, folks who don't have any health issues, those folks who aren't taking medications, because that helps us to understand some of the specifics around how drugs get metabolized and how they go through our body. Then there's opportunities for folks who have health conditions, again, diabetes, cancer. There's opportunity for them to be part of research too. But really, that's a conversation for a patient and their clinician, right? To identify what are those best areas or best trials for them. But there's so much within my company. There's so much going on, with other pharma companies. There's so much going on from a NIH, the National Institutes of Health perspective, that there's research out there. If people really want to be involved, there are opportunities, but that conversation starts with their doctor first.
Absolutely. So, Ms. Rogers, let me say this. You are a pillar. I tell people, don't even call Senior Talk Media for a health fair. I call Peer Plus Wellness. You like my black card of health fair. Just call Phyllis Rogers. She can get it done. I don't need to do all that. How has this experience building this event with so many great community partners coming up on February 24th, knowing you do this annually? How are you feeling? What has the response been? And how do you encourage other people to sign up? Because it's time to get it. We have to take care of ourselves. And just tell us what your thoughts are as we're building into February 24th.
Well, my thoughts are, number one, if the climate were different, we would be in the community at a physical location.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Where people would be able to come to us and would be able to sit down with a person like Ramona or someone else and share that little private question that they don't want anyone else to hear.
Thank you.
And that's the important piece. That's really important. And so what we're doing is we're doing what we have to do and what needs to be done. So we took this opportunity for Black History Month and say, you know what? Let's go on. Let's pull this together. So working with Ramona, with the Blue Hat Foundation, with Rhea Blakey, and with Dr. Roberson and the other people that are from from our governor's state. It's a whole collaborative because everyone is going to bring something to the table if it's only for a few moments.
Absolutely.
And I'll go back a little bit. When we look at research, people do look for research all the time, but a lot of them only want it if it's monetarily connected.
Point.
Let's talk about the real truth.
Yes.
They want to know, what am I getting out of it, especially ones that are healthy.
Mhm.
And they can see that dollar bill sign it. So we want people that dollar bill, that dollar amount that is there.
Yes.
But we want people to know that it's much bigger than that. It's much bigger than that. We're talking about saving lives, not only people that look like us, but people in general. It may not need to be for me, but it may need to be down the line for my son, my daughter, my granddaughter.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
so we have to take ourselves out of that box and look for what's coming on down the line. So to know that somewhere down the line you made a difference, you had some input in that impact that is directly affecting you and your family and your loved ones. So
You
we
know-
don't want people to just look for a dollar sign.
Right.
Say, okay, I'm going to do this and they're going to pay me $1,500. And I do understand that.
Right.
I do understand. People they need it for transportation, food, whatever, to do what you need to do. But this is important. And so this conversation promises, if people are calling in and sending us those questions, I put it back to Ramona. Ramona is going to answer those questions straight out,
Mhm.
clean and clear, where it will not be over their head, where they're wondering, what did she say? No, this is just going to be a straight talk.
And one of the things that we're highlighting too is that we know our community, we are so shameful in so many regards.
Yeah,
But we're asking you, please do not be intimidated.
absolutely.
Be encouraged to call. I will make revisions on this to also tell people to send emails in advance. But know that we have trusted experts. That's why we're all here collectively together. Senior Talk Media, Phyllis Rogers of Peer Plus, as well as Ramona from Jansen. We're experts and we are trusted. And we take what we do absolutely to heart. We're of service. We want to educate you. We're not selling you anything, so be mindful of that. So we have one more quick video from Jansen. They're doing a great job, y'all. Everyone stay tuned. Thank you for your comments. We'll be right back after this commercial message.
People of Color and Clinical Trials, a History. Clinical trials are the studies conducted by pharmaceutical companies, academic organizations, research hospitals, or others to evaluate or test the safety of a potential new medicine, called an investigational drug, and evaluate if it is effective in treating certain health conditions. Factors such as gender, race, ethnicity, age, or lifestyle can cause disease to affect people in different ways. These factors can also determine if a medicine is safe and effective for use in different groups. For this reason, a diverse group of people should be represented in clinical research to evaluate if investigational medications are safe and effective for the people that they are intended to help. However, many clinical trials today are made up of as much as 80% white participants and do not include enough people of different genders, ages, races, and ethnicities. Black people and other people of color are often not represented. We believe one reason for this is that the healthcare system as a whole needs to get better at removing barriers clinical trials participants often face. This can include helping people understand how clinical trials work, building trust in the process, and addressing logistical burdens. Understanding history. There is a deep-rooted sense of mistrust of clinical trials among Black communities that can, in part, be traced back to 1932 with what has become known as the Tuskegee Syphilis Study. This study is one of the most well-known circumstances in U.S. history that led to medical mistrust in the Black community, but it is not the first or only example. This study involved 600 Black men, some who had syphilis and some who did not. The organization conducting the trial did not inform the men what the trial was studying or the safety risk involved. They also did not provide any treatment for syphilis to trial participants years later when treatment became available. Today, recruiting people to participate in a clinical trial without letting them know what is being studied and what the safety risks are is against the law. In Phase 3 clinical studies, we compare the investigational drug against the current or existing medicine called the standard of care, the way forward. But we still have a lot of work to do to listen to, educate, and include diverse communities in order to restore trust in clinical studies among Black communities and other people of color. We are working hard to overcome that mistrust and educate people about the process of participating in clinical trials so we can continue to develop medicines that may address health conditions. In our next video, we'll discuss safety and informed consent in clinical trials. Thank you for watching. Learn more at www.researchincludesme.com.
Wow.
Wow, that was wonderful, Clara. Thank you, Ramona. That was wonderful.
Wow. So, ladies, we have a few more moments. I know we're going to have a meeting and review after our 24th event on February. Come back because we need to keep this conversation going. Some of us will get it. Some of us won't. Some of us will say, I should have asked the question. But we're letting you know that we're here to serve you. So as we're in closing, what are the misconceptions that you can say that, I mean, we've heard from the expert in the video, but knowing we're in the community and we're serving us that look like us, what are the misconceptions? What are the resistance factors that we can try to tell somebody, you know, give us a shot to answer your questions and be of service and consider being in a clinical trial? Mm-hmm. And Ramona, you go first.
Yeah, thank you, Clara. The most important thing I want to stress is that there are folks that look like us who are behind a lot of the research that's going on, who are making some of the decisions. Thank you. That is a big shift from, 30, 20 years ago. So I want people to have confidence in that. And that's something that, my company, as well as our peers, that we do. We want to be out in the communities, being the experts, but talking with communities, not talking at, right? It's that fair exchange of dialogue and honesty and answering questions. That is what's key. So I want folks to know you've got me, whatever questions you have. Miss Phyllis, she's my boss. She'll, make sure that I respond. But please, I think we really need to, cascade this information across our community because it's critical.
All right. And your closing remark, Ms. Rogers.
I just want to say thank you to the team that has come together to make this happen, for next Thursday, and including you, Clara.
Yes, ma'am.
We've been meeting weekly. This is our first event for 2022, and we've put a lot of thought behind it. We have the experts, and if it's a question that cannot be answered, I know that they will hunt and gather and get it to that person. But as you said, we would like for people to, if they have pre-questions, please get that to us. They can submit now, and that way our panel will be prepared to answer those questions to the best of their ability. So we just want to thank everybody.
And I would like to say in closing, one of the key things that a quote that I found, and this is the embodiment of everyone on our meetings, competition makes us faster, but collaboration makes us greater. And so we're putting a collaborative of experts. Everyone had something to add to this great event, and we're all on the same path, and that is working together to better our community. So everyone, please remember, as I say in closing, don't forget the event. It's a Black virtual community engagement event, February 24th. Let me tell you, go to peerpluscares.org and get your questions answered. Call our Senior Talk office anyway, or respond to this broadcast. And let you also know that this will be playing on several other media outlets near you. So just find Senior Talk Media, Spotify, TuneIn, and iHeart. We're going to start there. But as I say in closing, In complete darkness, we are all the same. It is only our knowledge and wisdom that separate us. Don't let your eyes deceive you. I've been your host, Clara Hubbard, also known as the granddaughter in the community. Our special co-host was Miss Ramona Burris and the Honorable Miss Phyllis Rogers. We love you, and we will see you next time.
Thank you. Be well. Thank you.